Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason live on this Monday. Remember, it is Thanksgiving week. Yep, get the turkeys out. Of course, you guys know, I was telling the story, my backup turkey plans, right? The way to put yourself on a time limit and at the same time, make sure you got enough turkey leftovers. But just very quickly, we will be closed Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. We're also going to be off on Friday, kind of turn it into a long weekend. And let's face it, it's been the year of chaos and having a few extra days off, well, it's well needed. So, but don't worry, because as you guys know, if you need to get your gold and silver put away, you can go to allamericangold.com. The website, the shopping cart runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm sure I'll probably have a secret special. Well, I guess I will. There will be a secret holiday special out there. So even though we'll be off, head out to allamericangold.com and take advantage of the holiday spirit. If you're traveling, good luck. Right? You know, I know that it's called, fall and winter, but it's going to be, well, let's just face it. Be ready for delays. My youngest, he flew in last night. And we're like, okay, this is, we're ahead of the holidays. Now, he was delayed. And he's only in San Diego, but I guess it wasn't too bad. It only took an extra couple of hours for him to get here. But he's at home. All the boys are at home. So my wife and I, we're pretty excited. I hope you guys be safe out there. Spend time with your family. It's going to be okay. I saw one of those lefties. I don't know if you saw one of the lefties out there telling you, oh, no, if you've got family that voted for Trump, well, you better be careful. They may put you on a list. Yeah, you may be on a list. So I don't know what list, but apparently they're advising the people that have relatives that voted for Donald Trump to avoid the Thanksgivings. Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping maybe this year was going to be the year that people could have the holidays together, because that's turned into a big thing now. Ever since Donald Trump has come along, you can't even break bread together anymore, Jason.
Well, I resolved that one. I don't vote for either side, so I don't have to worry about someone getting mad at me for voting for the wrong one, right? So I can mingle with either side, Joe.
There you go. We see. I guess you're fortunate. All you non-voters out there, I guess you guys are clear. Everybody else, I don't know. Apparently, there's a list of some kind.
There's always a list, isn't there, Joe?
It is.
There's always a list, isn't there? There's always a list, right?
I'm usually on a list. I think that's the one thing I would say is if there's a list, I'm probably on it for some reason or another. Because, well, let's face it, most of the time when you talk about lists, it's usually the naughty list. So I'm sure that I'm going to be on one of those lists. But our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The news of the day. Donald Trump has selected who he would like to run the Treasury. Scott Bassett is going to be the guy. He was, he worked for George Soros. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that, he's a loyalist to Soros. He did a lot of fundraising for Trump. He's one of those gay Republicans. Not that matters, but I guess it kind of you gotta say it, right? And he was definitely who Wall Street wanted. Wasn't who RFK and Elon Musk and Vivek, they didn't want this guy. But, Jason, I'll say this. I don't love the pick, but then again, it wasn't. I don't see anything that says they're going to go after the central bank. So if you're not going to go after the central bank, you better pick a guy that Wall Street has confidence in, because these bond markets, they're very, very troubled. So in that regard, at least for today, Wall Street thinks this is a good selection. He was not against tariffs, but he is more of the, well, let's give him a baby tariff. He's a baby tariff guy versus a big tariff guy, but nonetheless, I think Wall Street likes the pick. I'm just kind of like, well, if we're not going to end the Fed, then I guess it makes sense in some regard to have somebody that at least Wall Street has some respect for.
Another billionaire in the cabinet, Joe. Another billionaire.
I mean, that's kind of like it's almost like a requirement now, right? Hey, you gotta be some form of a globalist. You gotta be invited to all the meetings, right? You gotta, right? Because they rule the world.
I thought we were going to break the requirements this time.
Well.
I thought we were going to go a different route this time.
Not all the picks. But in any event, we got a lot to talk about. We really do. We'll be right back. Stay with us. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this holiday week, on this Monday. Man, November's almost done. Here's the great news. The year of chaos is almost over. Right? We got, 5 weeks, 6 weeks of chaos left. The problem is, why do I have this horrible feeling that there's going to be more chaos next year, but we'll see how it all goes. A quick look at the markets. The Dow's up 380. The S&P's up 25. The Nasdaq's up 63. And again, mostly because very happy with the status quo from Trump. Look at the 10-year note, down to 4.3, 4.296 to be exact. I mean, huge moves in the Treasury market. We'll see. Probably won't stay there because, we still got to sell all this debt and all that stuff. Oil's down $2. Gold, which, man, what a week gold had last week. Down, and right now, I say this right now. Make sure you buy something today. Today is one of these days. This is a buy day, right? Gold's down $85. It's not going to stay here. Take advantage. Make sure you get in. Silver down over $1. Once again, make sure you take advantage. Every one of these pullbacks needs to be bought because you're going to be able, let's face it, right? Buy more for less. That's kind of what we're trying to do. And buying for less is hard now, right? It's expensive. Make sure you do it. But again, we talk about diversifying, because what are our two options? Here's what we know. We're either going to have a market, and we're talking about 2025. We're going to have a market that either has topped out here or wherever the high of this year is. And then we're going to be in a very tough environment where we're going to have a lot of debt problems, inflation, and a slow economy. That's option number one, right? They like to call that stagflation, right? Which is, hey, we don't have growth. Everything still keeps costing more, right? And we're piling on debt, right? And it's just not working. Or we're going to have another version of hyperinflation, which I think a lot of people on Wall Street now are kind of feeling like we may get it, Jason. Hey, we may get maybe another 10% out of Wall Street next year. I don't know. We'll see. Good. I'm worried about the latter, but this is why we keep telling you, get more diversified. Obviously, either of those scenarios, stagflation, hyperinflation, good for gold, good for silver. That's why I told you got to buy today. The problem is, if you don't get the Wall Street rally to go with everything else, the spending, because we know, listen, Donald Trump's going to spend. We know that. Right? We know that. Unfortunately, his little Doge team, they say that they're not going to have anything ready till next year. Not 2025, not till 2026. So we know we're going to get big spending. How big of cuts we're going to get, we're probably going to have to wait. But if we don't get the rally in Wall Street, boy, you better be way more diversified. That's why we keep telling you. Maybe if you've done it right, you've saved, you've lived within your means. You had a big 401k. Now you got you rolled it into an IRA. You got big bucks in your bank account. Obviously, get your gold, get your silver put away. We can help you with a gold and silver IRA. It's just some paperwork. You don't have to worry about taxes or anything else. You know what the best thing about a gold and silver IRA? You know what the annual fee, it's less than, I want to say it's less than $500 to get the whole thing set up and pay for a whole year of storage. But after that, you pay now I don't even know if you pay $200 a year. You don't have to pay these guys 1% or 2% every single year. Isn't that kind of nuts? Wait a minute, I gave you $250,000, but now I got to give you 1% of it just for giving it to you, and then I got to give it to you again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Doesn't do that. You don't do that in a gold and silver IRA. Check out our friends at YRefi. Why? Because they give you money. Yeah. Up to 10.25% fixed rate of return. Plus, you can use it as income. You can compound it. Man, what a great way to supplement your Social Security. Wouldn't that be a great way? Maybe you got an IRA. Maybe you got $1 million in an IRA. Man, taking a chunk of that and saying, hey, I got 10.25% fixed rate. Supplement my Social Security check every month? Yeah, sign me up for that. Not correlated to Wall Street. So if you don't get the Wall Street rally, if we get Jamie Dimon, boy, you're going to be sitting even prettier. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just call them at 888-Y-REFI-24, 888-973-3924. And Jason, like I said, it's a short week, but we do get durable goods this week. We do get core PCE, one of the Fed's favorite things. And then we get some Fed minutes. So there is some stuff going on this week. But again, I think today was kind of the big day with the announcement at the Treasury who's going to be leading the Fed. It's a Wall Streeter. It's a globalist. But the guy has been loyal to Trump. So we'll have to see how this works out. And then when we look at, what's happening right now, Trump is saying that he will try to cut government spending by reasserting presidential power of impoundment. Now, I don't know if he can actually do this. This is something where a president chooses not to distribute funds authorized by Congress and instead leaves them in the Treasury. So kind of an interesting thing here, right? Maybe is this how they plan to deal with possibly the Department of Education? We're just not going to give you the money, and we're going to leave it at the Treasury. This was an act in 1974, the Impoundment Control Act, which the Trump administration says they're going to challenge, which they say is unconstitutional. I don't know. I don't think he's going to win this one, but it's an interesting strategy to try to get cut sooner than 2026, Jason.
Well, we'll see if they even get them because, as you were just saying, there's a lot of pitfalls. I've been looking at many economics, so-called experts, talking about how can they do such a thing, and almost nobody says it's going to be accomplishable. It's something really radical would have to happen, and a lot of them are just. A lot of the guys I'm seeing, Joe, is just kind of what you said. It's just not going to happen, and then they're just saying it's just fluff and it's just pomp. It's just to get people excited. Because what's going to happen the next couple of years might not be very pretty, Joe.
Well, and again, I think that is. They want people excited. You know what? And I get excited about it because at least I say that they're at least talking about cutting some spending here. The problem that I have is they're not talking about cutting the spending that actually is going to make a huge, significant difference. You know, cutting the Department of Education, that's okay in my book, but, firing government workers, that's okay in my book as well. The problem is, unless you are touching Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and defense, it's going to be very, very hard for them to be able to pay for tax cuts and other things that the Trump administration wants to do, like stop taxing overtime, don't tax tips, doesn't want to tax the Social Security payments. All of those are big ticket items, but I do want to say that I keep liking them pointing out ridiculous spending, and today is no different. The latest now is the Department of Health and Human Services decided that it needed to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion into the infrastructure of an already very complex situation. Now, what does Health and Human Services have to do with any of this? Obviously, nothing. But they use the word equality 829 times. They're saying that they hired 294 DEI staffers at a cost of $37.8 million. So this is what our government money. I at least like to sit there and say, let's put a price tag on it. How much does this cost? No, this is just one department. Apparently we didn't have anybody qualified, apparently, that was already in Health and Human Services, right? We couldn't find, hey, you know what? You really don't have enough to do, right? We're going to reassess. No, we had to go hire these 294 people. And again, like I said, this wasn't for the whole government. This is just for this one agency. The average pay, $131,632,000, Jason, is what this department paid on average for the DEI staff for the Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, that's one of those cuts they need to make, right? DEI is just one of those wasteful excuses to spend money. I mean, there's a lot of these. I mean, it's funny with the Doge guys are making the list of all the wasteful spending. You know, shocking people with all the stuff the government's spending. But I remember from the first day I came on the radio with you and 2018 that we would about every year the budget would come out and we would read off lists of this stuff. It's been happening every year, and so these are things that should always not be spent on. But why do I get the feeling when they spend money on weird stuff or ridiculous stuff that the money's actually being parceled off to something else or someone else?
Right.
Yeah.
Why does the Pentagon? Why can they never pass an audit? It's on purpose. Because, well, we're taking money and we're putting it where we want it to be and not where we said it was going to be because, well, we got to get it done. $5 million for now. Apparently, Health and Human Services has its own office of climate change and health equality that gets $5 million. They also have an office of environmental justice and another $5 million toward diversifying the doula workforce. What is that? I'm going to have to look that up. What is a doula workforce that the Health and Human Services had to spend $5 million on? We're back here. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason, our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. Now, I know we ran the second largest budget deficit of all time. October, the second largest budget deficit for the month of October, only outdone by the October month of that first year of the big COVID spending. Yet, you wouldn't know it by looking at all the money we're spending. Here we're talking about, listen, sooner or later, and I'm worried about sooner than I am more about later, one of these auctions is going to fail. We will have a failed auction. And really, technically, we probably already did going back to 2019. Remember, we had to have a big emergency, and the Fed just had to start buying the auctions. It's going to happen again. But we're looking at Health and Human Services, and I guess at least this doula is health-related. This is like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a pregnancy coach, right? You gotta get coached up. But listen to the logic behind this, because I did not know this. Now, granted, I'm a male. Jason, you're a male, so we may not be qualified to speak on this. But my wife and I have kids. We've been through the process. But they said that over the past couple of years, so this is new. So either it didn't exist before, right? Or something changed and this existed. But what? What existed? They're saying that the role of a birth doula as an intervention to address structural inequalities in the U.S. healthcare system and somehow reduce healthcare disparity. See, Jason, if you just have your own doula, apparently, these inequities that exist that are quote-unquote structural, and of course, the disparity in what they're saying, healthcare costs. Listen, when I think of doulas, I'm thinking like of a yoga mom. Maybe I'm wrong, right? That they somehow I don't see, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see the inner city, barrio, ghetto, whatever you want to say, hiring birth doulas. I just don't see it. I see them more going to Planned Parenthood and getting abortions than I do them getting a doula. Right? Isn't this kind of like the Scottsdale mob that does yoga? I mean, I don't know, but
it all sounds like something I don't want to pay for. That's right. I mean, I don't know. The government pays for way too many things, and it's just the way people think now. But the government has to spend on stuff. The federal government, and you can cut away 95% of all that stuff. It really doesn't belong. I mean, I heard a stat that if they fired every single hired federal employee, it would only trim 15% off the budget, the yearly budget. You know, that's if they fired everybody. I mean, except for taking out the elected officials, it only curve 15%, Joe. So you can't fire your way out of this thing if you want to trim either. So spend, Joe. It's obvious what they're going to do. They're going to spend, and they're going to spend like crazy. And next year's going to be a huge spending year.
It's going to be interesting. Wow. It's just, how does this happen? But again, though, guess we don't vote for this stuff. Right? The lobbyists write this legislation. You know, we have these committees, right? And you know, we got this guy on and that gal on and, blah, 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 da-da-da. Remember what Nancy Pelosi said, and this is true, and it doesn't matter. Okay, well, the Republicans, they read it. No, they don't. No, they don't. You got to pass the bill to see what's in the bill. This is what we have. We have these government agencies that are so bloated. And think about this. Worried about things that they shouldn't be worried about. Spending money on things instead of what the agency's actually for. I don't know. Call me crazy. Right? But what do they do? It's buried in there. And by the way, you think they're looking at, $5 million a year, $5 million, $30 million there? No, they're dealing with numbers in the billions. So when they see like a number like $5 million for doulas, they're like, that's like $5. Right? I mean, that's just what it turns into, right? It's so much money, Jason, that this is how you end up with this kind of stuff. And it's hilarious because when we think about all of this stuff that's been added, we've had Republicans, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. It's almost always like maybe you get 8 years of one on the presidential side. But very rarely in Congress, very rarely, do you get more than 2 years where either party's in charge. It almost never happens. Which means the Republicans and they're doing this stuff together. I'm going to say this. You know, the one thing I haven't heard is if they actually pulled it off. Let's just say they actually did it. Do you think it's going to cause a recession? Because I do. If they actually do half of what they're saying, it would probably cause a recession. Could you imagine the government, such a big piece? There's no bigger piece to this economy than the federal government, Jason. That's how much money they spend. They spend $7 trillion. That's 25% of the entire economy. That's more than Social Security. That's more than Medicare. Right? That's more than defense. I mean, Jason, it's insane.
And it's very inflative. And that's why you buy gold, because it's all the prices are going to go up. And gold is, it's not Enron stock, is it, Joe? It's not something that's going to go down to zero and have no value. So it's going to stay with that inflation and keep you whole while you try to figure out. I mean, let's face it, Joe, where do you really want to put your money that you feel safe, right? This is a safe place to put your money, and it keeps up. And in situations like this, it's the gold to whatever ratio starts to get better and better as things get overinflated, Joe.
When we get back, bad news from Macy's. And we're going to talk about the ending of the ASU-BYU football game. Yeah, idiocracy is everywhere. We'll be back. 1-800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason had a good pullback here. Huge gold rally like the last week and a half after gold fell. Today, big profit taking with the Treasury appointee, Scott Bessent. He is very popular with the globalists in Wall Street. But right now, the gold's down 80, which, by the way, is like $15 off the low already. It will not stay here, but 26.36 right now on gold. $20 gold pieces all the way down to $2,795, which that's like $150 over spot, which, and by the end of the day, may not even be that. And then for the smaller guy, 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagles were the cheapest. We usually are the cheapest with 10th ounce, but today even cheaper, all the way down to $315. Think about last week, we were at $330, $335 on a 10th ounce Gold Eagle. So 10th ounce American Gold Eagles, $315, or the $20 Liberties and St. Gaudens, that private pre-1933 gold, $2,795 at 800-951-0592. And today, Macy's said, yeah, earnings kind of stunk, right? Sales were down. We've got to lower our forecast. But this was hilarious. This was like the government. Like, Macy's said that they can't release their earnings officially yet, but they're gonna. See, they had a problem. They said that an independent investigation and forensic analysis, high-tech stuff, said that a single employee with responsibility for small package delivery expense accounting intentionally made erroneous accounting accrual entities to hide between $132 and $154 million of delivery expenses from the fourth quarter of 2001 all the way to November 2nd of this year. Now, boy, that sounds fancy. What does that mean? Pretty simple. The employee decided, I don't feel like doing my job today. I'm just going to throw this stuff in the trash. And no one realized. Did somebody at Macy's say, wait a minute. Why are we short $150 million in our bank accounts, right? I mean, you would think somebody would notice it, but yet, apparently, Jason, poor Macy's, they're going to have to go back, and I guess what they're trying to tell you is, by the way, the last 3 years of earnings, yet they were even worse than what we actually thought because, well, apparently instead of actually doing the job, the person just made stuff up instead because, well, it was less work, Jason.
Fraud all over, isn't there? Everyone's taking their piece instead of earning their piece nowadays, isn't it, Joe?
Right? But it was just one person. So don't worry. Nobody's hurt. So we'll have to wait and see how big this gets. And then, ASU football, Arizona State football. You're like, Joe, why are you talking about football? I got to talk about it. They were picked to finish dead last in the Big 12. Don't get me started on all this football realignment stuff. They're probably going to win their conference and go to the playoffs. They just got to beat U of A Friday night, but we'll see if they can pull that up. But here's what's hilarious: they're playing BYU, and kind of like barring something drastic, whoever wins that game's going to be in the Big 12 championship game. There's no time. The time's running out. And ASU decides, gosh, it's 4th down. We don't want to punt the ball. We're just going to throw it. We're going to have our quarterback go back and just throw the ball really high in the air and make sure it lands out of bounds. And by the time it lands out of bounds, the clock will have run out and we'll have won the game. Sounds simple enough. They run the play. They throw it out of bounds. Fans charge the field. They're tearing down the goalpost. And the rest decide that, no, Jason, there's still 1 second to go. They got to put the goalpost back up. Get thousands of fans off the field so BYU can run one last play. And the guy actually caught the ball at like the 2-yard line. Almost scored to win the game. But it's just so hilarious, the things that we're at today with everything. It's just really reminiscent of everything that's going on in the world, the chaos. You should have seen the ASU coach. He was going crazy. Like, they go out to shake the other coach's hand and his wife and the fans, and then all of a sudden the rest come up to him, and he starts going nuts. It was pretty cool. It was just something when I watched it. My wife and I were actually having a dinner, and we actually went to a movie. I told us we went to that Gladiator movie. It was okay. The original one was better, but it was okay. So we missed this, and we saw it on the replay, and all the people at the place we were eating at, there was a bunch of ASU fans. Oh, my God. It's the year of chaos. Of course that happens. Patriot Radio News Hour. Get your gold today. Silver, too, by the way. I didn't even give you a silver prize. I'll do that on the other side. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Yeah, are we going to have to get instant replay? Right? Oh, wait, no. There is still a millimeter of a second left. Everything's going to be okay. We got to everyone get off the field and start over again. Yeah, year of chaos. We are here. $20 gold pieces, $2,795. 10th ounce American Gold Eagles. When we talk about barterable gold, we've had some gram bars, those little tiny little gram bars, right? You can do some of those, but when it comes to a coin, this is it. The 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle. We're cheaper than anybody else out there. $315 on a 10th ounce Gold Eagle. By the way, a monster box of silver. What a great time. Friday was $19,000. $18,250. So you're going to save $750 today. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles, $735. Rolls of dimes down to $120. Remember, we had them on sale last week, and then silver goes up $1 in a day, and now it's back down to the sale price. Rolls of dimes, $120. Quarters, $240. Half dollars, $245. Don't let today go by. Don't add something today. Buy these dips. You're going to do so much better, because what have we seen time and time again on this rally with gold and silver? Jason, we see these pullbacks. Look at the last. You know what? We had gold pullback $200 3 weeks ago, and it took it all back. And like 2 weeks, all the way back again. This is just kind of another one, because it really wasn't on any news other than, hey, we got Wall Street's got a Treasury guy that they think they like. Okay, can he really do anything? Probably not. But neither here nor there. People need to buy, because they're big. $80, $85, silver down $1. Those are big moves. Buy them because they don't last.
Yeah, and I think the forecast for gold 2025 is higher. So if you're going to buy a little bit here, a little bit there, if you're one of those guys that buys a little bit at a time, that's these pullbacks, which we haven't had much pullbacks in gold this year. This would be one to buy, and back and forth action, right, Joe? And we'll see when it takes the next leg up. This might be a really good time to buy if it starts stepping up and doesn't come back here.
Yeah, we're going to see. We'll have to watch as all of this stuff plays out. 800-951-0592. I still laughing about the Macy's. And it took me a while to figure out what are they trying to say, right? They sounded all scientific and this and that. And then come to find out, basically the person, instead of doing their job, just made up entries instead of actually doing the real entries. Because they figured it was easier. That was, I don't know, made me laugh quite a bit. By the way, more auto worker layoffs too. This time was at Nissan, the latest, all here in the U.S. We'll see. I don't know. Black Friday is coming. Remember, this weekend we're closed Thursday and Friday, but we'll have a Black Friday. We'll have something online for Black Friday for all you Black Friday people out there. God bless everybody. Hey, listen, Jason and I coming right back with the half-empty cup. Should be a good one. Stay with us.